Yeah, y'all give them a hand. You can have a seat. We do want to take a minute and just say thanks to all the men who came early and cooked, who led us in worship, who have been cleaning up, all the things. Really thankful for all of you guys. Right now, I wanted to introduce a friend of mine. His name is Steve Taylor, and that song, Reckless Love of God, talks about what God does in the heart of man. No mountain he won't climb up. I mean, walls he won't tear. I mean, all those things for us. And so, Steve, would you come up and just share with us this morning from your heart? Y'all give Steve a warm welcome as he comes.
Had to watch my step on that one. Some of you seen me wipe out earlier, but that's good. Got all the nervous stuff out of the way. As Jason said, my name's Steve Taylor. I'm from here in Podo. I'll answer all the typical questions first. I'm 6'8". I weigh about 360 pounds. I did not play basketball. I did play football. Matter of fact, I played football at University of Oklahoma for 2 years, where I was an offensive lineman. A couple of knee injuries, shoulder problems. That all kind of come to an end. I had to choose to walk away from that when I was about 19 years old. To brag on myself a little bit, back in the day, I run a 4.940. I used to bench press 490 pounds. I squatted 750 and I had a leg press of a little over 1,100 pounds. My senior year in high school, I was first team All-State. I was invited to play in the Oil Bowl, which is it's a game between Texas All-State and Oklahoma All-State. That recruiting class that I was in, I was the number 3 recruit out of the state of Oklahoma. I was the number 49th recruit in the whole nation, and I was the number 5 offensive lineman coming out of high school as a senior. In my house, I've got a big Rubbermaid tote that's plumb full of letters and offers and all this contact information from just about any college there was in the U.S. wanted me to play football for them. People threw a lot of money at me. I got to go to parties. I had any girlfriend I wanted. It's illegal by NCAA standards, but people throw money at you. I'll give you a little story on that. I worked at a car lot in Norman, and I showed up once a week, and I used a push broom, and I swept out the shop, and they paid me $500. That's kind of how it works. At that point in my life, I was a prime example of an earthly man. I was something that all high school kids wanted to be. A lot of grown men wanted to play college ball, but they didn't get to, through various things. So as the world seen me, I was something like one of these guys, or maybe it was a guy like this. But on the inside, as a Christian, as a godly man, a godly husband, a godly father, a co-worker, friend on the street, a stranger, I was more like this guy. I was weak. I had nothing. I had nothing to offer anybody. I had nothing to offer myself as a Christian at that point. Give you a little backstory on myself. My biological dad and mother, they were married. It was a shotgun wedding type deal. I don't think my dad was ever real interested in the idea of me. My mom and dad divorced when I was 3. From that point on, he was a Sunday dad. What I mean by that is he showed up on Sunday mornings. We spent Sundays together, and Sunday night he dropped me off, and I may or may not see him the next Sunday. That's just kind of how that all played out. Now, he did get remarried when I was 7 or 8, best I recall. And that woman, I think she pretty much hated my guts. She had 3 kids, and I think that had a lot to do with his next decision, which was he was supposed to pick me up on a Tuesday afternoon after baseball practice, and to put a time frame on this, we was going to go see Mrs. Doubtfire in the movie theater. So it was several years ago. Like I said, I was about 9. The hardest part about this was I lived in the same town as my biological father. At one point, I lived just a block and a half down the road from him, but it was still like I didn't exist to him. And also, I told you he had 3 stepkids, and I went to school with my step siblings. And my older stepsister, she was a year ahead of me in school, so up until the end of my junior year, I went to school with a girl that had my dad, that my dad, made the house payment for, that my dad bought clothes for, but didn't fit into my life anywhere. When I was about 4, my stepdad come into the picture. They got married when I was 5. We did sports together. He's the one that got me playing football when I was 4 years old. I played on the 5 and 6-year-old team, and I played football all the way up until I was 20 years old. He coached my little league football. He coached my little league baseball. I tried little league basketball one time, but basketball wasn't for me. So, he loved me, and without a doubt, I was his son. And his family, even the first of this year, I had to go back to that family. My grandma passed away, and it was still, I've always been her grandson. The day I met her, I was her grandson. The day I met my aunt, my stepdad's sister, I was her nephew. That family accepted me from day one. My birth name is not Taylor. My stepdad adopted me because my biological father wasn't around. So now I'm Steve Taylor instead of what it says on my birth certificate. I lost my dad, my stepdad, when I was 13. He drove a semi truck, hauled milk in a tanker. He was up in northern Kansas on a pretty bad road and rolled his truck a few times. So I lost Dad right there. My grandpa on my mom's side of the family, he was probably the most consistent male figure in my life up to a point. He started babysitting me when I was 2. That's when me and Grandpa started fishing. My grandpa had polio when he was young. As far as I can remember back, he had no use of his legs. But that didn't stop us from fishing none. When I was in my school age years, I don't remember a year that we didn't skip the last day of school and go fishing. And I stayed with Grandpa all summer until it was time to go back to school. Now, I went to baseball practice and stuff like that, but it come the day before the last day of school, and Mom had to whoop my tail to get me to come back home because I was at Grandpa's house. Now, we had an unspoken agreement, me and Grandpa did. He took me fishing just about every day. Just as that eastern sky was starting to turn pink, we'd be sliding old John boat into an old farm pond, and we'd fish all day. We'd eat breakfast sandwiches. We'd mess around and eat lunch. Somehow or another, we'd be back to the house by 10 o'clock in the morning. And I can't figure out how that works till this day. Now, my part of the unspoken agreement was I had to work in the garden, and I had to work in the yard. When I was 7, I could fix fence, I could till a garden, I could mow, I could weed eat, I could slaughter chickens and rabbits, I could milk a cow, and I could milk a goat. Also, on my mom's side of the family, they was a very quarrelsome bunch. They was always the type that was very vindictive with each other. They didn't want to see anybody else in the family doing good. Just always a lot of drama there. My grandpa was the only one that stood a chance at all of holding the family together. He'd tell somebody they was being dumb when they was being dumb, or whatever he needed to tell them. But I lost my grandpa when I was 19, and that was probably the hardest thing that I'd been through up until this point. Now, I mentioned that I played some college ball. Playing college D1 ball and playing pro football was my lifelong dream. Like I said earlier, it's what all high school football players want to do. I didn't care about the education. I regret that more than anything. All I worried about was playing ball and all the free junk I got, and the girls and the beer, and that's all I was worried about. But while I was playing ball, I had 5 shoulder injuries, a couple of knees, worked on 3 broke vertebrae in my back, and I chose to walk away. They had a motivational speaker come in one day, and it had the opposite effect on me. He was 35. He was a former offensive lineman for OU, and he went on to play a few years in the pros, and here he come in walking on a cane, because he was so beat up and tore up. And I thought right then, that's not where I want to be. I might be worth millions of dollars, but I ain't going to be able to enjoy it. It's going to be useless for me to have. So I chose to walk away. Probably should have walked away a little sooner, but I didn't really have a plan B because, like I said, football was all I ever wanted to do. I moved back to my hometown, and there's a lot of people giving me a lot of hard times. Oh, you made the biggest mistake of your life. How could you walk away from something like that? So I chose to move to Wyoming. I moved up to Wyoming that August. I did several odd jobs. I built fence for a construction company. I built some horse paths up in the mountains. I ended up going to work for a rancher up there. I met him in town. He figured out I was looking for a job. I figured out he needed some help. The job interview went something like, "You ever run a tractor?" "Yes, sir." "You ever been around cows?" "A couple of times." "See you at 7 in the morning." And that was the extent of my job interview. I moved into that ranch house out there, and something I didn't tell you earlier, when I was growing up, when I moved into that ranch house, that was the 32nd residence that I'd had. We moved around a lot as a kid, 3 or 4 months here, 6 months there. Can't really tell you why, but that's what we did. So I went to work for this guy. I was green. I didn't know anything. But this man taught me everything I know today about raising horses and raising cows. I still raise horses and cows down here in Poto. He become dad to me. Somehow or another, he was exactly what I needed in my life at that time. And I filled the void that he needed also. I'm one of his kids. I've met people he went to high school with. Now he's 5'7", 5'8". He's a little guy, but he introduces me to people as his baby boy. I'm his youngest son. That gets a lot of odd looks, and people ask a lot of silly questions about that. Probably shouldn't tell you what he says, but we'll leave it at that. I worked a lot of hard hours and a lot of hard days at this place, but I loved every minute of it because for the first time in my life, I had found a home. I knew this place was never going to go anywhere. It'd been there in the same family for 90 years, and it still is. Now, this man, a lot of you have heard me talk about my dad from Wyoming. This is who I'm talking about. He's not my biological dad. He's a man that at 19 years old, 20 years old, he took me in and finished my raising at that point because there were still a lot of things that I didn't have in my life due to the other father situations that I'd been in. But even having all of this, I was still at a point in my life where I run to the bar. I chased women. It didn't matter if they was married or not. I always had a beer or a whiskey bottle in my hand. The spring that I was 23 years old, I met a little lady on FarmersOnly.com. You've all seen the commercials. That's a real thing. And we talked for about a year and a half. I finally convinced her that I wasn't a serial killer, and that she flew up to see me. She spent a week with me there in Wyoming, and I asked her to marry me. And I'd been talking to this lady on the phone or text messages, emails for a year and a half, and I knew I loved her. I had to, because how do you spend that much time with somebody and not develop some feelings for them, So I asked her to marry me, and I got you betcha. So she flew back down here at the end of the week, and a week later I flew down here and we loaded up all her stuff and we drove back. And I woke up one Friday morning. Matter of fact, it was September 5th, 2008. I rolled over in bed and I said, "Baby doll, I'm tired of living in sin. Let's go get married." And by 3 o'clock that afternoon, we went to the courthouse and we went to the judge and we found the preacher and made it all official. And we've been married. Last September 5th was 10 years that we've been married. Thank you. At this point in my life, I thought I had it all. I had a good job, I had a home, I had the most beautiful woman that I'd ever seen convinced to marry me. We had a little girl on the way. I had it all, but I still run to the bar. I still run to the whiskey bottle. I quit chasing girls because the woman I married is more than enough woman for me. Just kidding on that. All other women they didn't matter anymore. I found the one that I wanted, so I was done with the rest of it. In April of 2009, we moved here to Poto. Poto's where she's from. And this was very hard on me because at this point I was leaving the only home I had ever known to come down to somewhere new again. So that was hard on me, and I had a lot of frustrations and stuff, and I took it out on my wife a lot. I gradually faded away from drinking, and I found something else to consume my thoughts and my time, and it was work. I wanted to work. I needed to build a house. I needed I needed a bigger truck. I needed better toys. I needed new things. So I quit drinking as much, and that all faded away. But I was still trying to hide something. I was always looking for something more, something better, something bigger, and that leaded toward me. For a little bit there, I run a dump truck and a dozer. Some of you guys probably know that. And that led to me meeting a lady. She called me. She wanted some dirt work. And she introduced herself on the phone as a reverend. So I go and I look at her yard. We talk about the job she needs done. And we finalized the price and the time frame and everything. And she asked me, she goes, I told you on the phone the other day I was a reverend. I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, I got to ask you, you know our Heavenly Father is your personal Lord and Savior? I said, well, yeah, I go to church every once in a while. I don't probably do it like I need to. She asked me if she could pray for me. I said, yeah. So we prayed, and she got done praying, and she said, son, I want to tell you something. The Lord's got great things for you, but He's got to fix a few things in you first. Yeah, all right, whatever, And I drove away there, and I got in the truck, and I'm thinking, what in the world is she talking about? I don't have any issues. I'm perfectly fine. And I didn't think about it. I kind of forgot about it for 2 days. And then it hit me one day. Lord, and this is the first time I'd said a real prayer in probably 10 years. I sat down in my living room. I said, God, if you've got something in me that you need to fix, if you've got great things for me, but you need to heal me first, let's get started on that. And it was just as simple as that. I didn't know. I had no idea what the next year was going to be like, but I tell you this, man, it was crazy. It has been a rough ride for me emotionally, but going through it was one thing, but the end results, I'd do it again 100 times. I had to learn some stuff about myself. Shortly after this, my wife, she's a mental health professional. She's a counselor, and she's just a heck of a friend. She's that type of person. And she had a friend of hers going through a divorce. He was a male friend. And, doing the things that a good friend does, or maybe that a counselor would do, she started kind of visiting with him. He had made a comment in passing, I think that was goodness. So my wife started helping him, as a friend. And the first time in my life, I felt jealous. I'd never been jealous of anything in my life. I started thinking, man, she's spending more time on the phone with this dude than she is talking to me. And I didn't like it, And only by the grace of God I didn't get mad. I got scared, and it almost felt like I was losing her. So I turned to the Bible, and I started studying Ephesians 5. And it tells you right there, black and white, how to be a good husband. It tells you how to follow these things and what to do. I started treating my wife better, and now I always thought I was a good husband, by worldly standards. I provided. I made my house payment. I made sure my kids had clothes. I made sure she had stuff she needed. But I was a horrible husband. Now, I've never been physically abusive to my wife at all, but I cannot stand here today and honestly tell you I wasn't verbally abusive. I'd go to the barn to do chores. Why am I out here feeding? This ain't even my stinking horse. It's her horse. Why am I doing it? And what do you mean? You can change a light bulb. What do you need me to change a light bulb for? I'm busy. Just a jerk. I wasn't a good husband. And that's where my jealousy come from, because I started learning, hey, I've been doing this wrong for a long time. And, so like I said, I studied Ephesians 5. It tells you right there, a husband needs to love his wife like Christ loved the church. We all get hung up on, the wife's supposed to be submissive. Dang, that's wrong. It's to a point, it's right, but we need to focus on loving our wives like Christ loved the church. Same friend. He had an old truck for sale. It was an old square body 12 valve Dodge, my favorite trucks. He had it for sale, so we bought it. We went to Kansas City to pick it up. On the way up there, we decided, hey, let's take old boy out for steak dinner, and we'll take him out on the town, get his mind off things, have a good time. So we did that. We ended up in a bar in downtown Kansas City. We went in. We drank a few drinks. I'll be honest with you. We did a little dancing. I danced with Ashley, and her friend danced with some other girls. Just trying to get his mind off things. And this place was crowded. It was packed. It was shoulder to shoulder. It was loud. Not really my type of place. So I told my wife, I'm just gonna go to the truck for a little bit. Well, can I stay? Yeah, I don't care. You go ahead and stay. So about an hour later, I go back in. I'm looking around. I'm trying to call. It's so loud in there, you can't even hear your phone ringing when it's up to your ear. I can't get a hold of her. I can't find her. Excuse me. I'm thinking the worst. 8 years of being a terrible husband has finally caught up to me. My wife's left me. She's left this place with another man. Out here I am in Kansas City by myself. I just started thinking the worst. I couldn't get her on the phone. What I didn't know is this place we was at, it was actually 9 little bars inside one great big building with big open space in the middle. So I figured that out, and I start going through these other places, and I find them. They're in the corner of a little Irish pub. She's on one side of the table, he's on one side of the table. They're playing Jenga, having a conversation, doing what friends do, right? But at this point, I was so far gone on what I was feeling, what I was letting Satan tell me was going on, that I couldn't rationalize at that point that, they're just being friends, right? So we get home, and it's been a few days, and he calls. And I'm like, no, you don't need to talk to him. I didn't make a big stink to him, but I told my wife, no, he's after you. You don't know what a man's thinking. I've been drunk and I've been single and I've chased married women. That's what he's doing, And she kept telling me, no, we're just friends. And I finally decided to go see a counselor about all of this. Because maybe I'm not wrapping my head around something correctly. I was praying about it. I was talking to the Lord about it. I studied it in Scripture. So I go talk to this counselor, and she tells me, well, have you ever thought that maybe you felt abandoned in Kansas City, just like you felt abandoned at 9 years old when your dad just disappeared? Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So I started pouring myself into this. Okay, how have I felt now, and how does that relate to what I felt when I was 9? And then I had the issues of my stepdad dying and my granddad dying, and choosing to walk away from my lifelong dream. So I'll tell you this, God knew that in order to heal these things in me, I had to feel them again. It's been 25 years since my dad disappeared. It's been 22 years since my stepdad got killed. And it's been years since my grandpa died and I quit playing ball. So I had forgotten what I was trying to forget, right? So I had to feel these things again before I could honestly sit down and focus on them and deal with them. I come to terms with the fact that, my dad left. There's nothing I can do about it. But my whole life, I still had a male figure in my life to help shape me. I called my mom on the phone. I said, Mom, you still got that box of stuff from when Dad got killed? Yeah, I'll send it to you. She sent it to me. I get it home one night. I sat in my closet floor after I done send the wife and kids to bed. And I'm going through this stuff, and I'm reading the Highway Patrol report, and I'm reading the sheriff's report, and I'm looking at pictures of the accident, and I'm looking at pictures of his body. And for the first time in 22 years, I'm dealing with the fact that he's gone, and there's nothing I can do about it, Same thing with my grandpa. Going through that box that Mom sent me, I found my grandpa's Bible, and I remember him reading this Bible to me when I was a kid. And I wasn't sitting here reading it. I just kind of thumbed through it, and out of it falls a little parchment paper makeshift envelope, and in it was an old oak leaf, dried up, and 6 little bitty yellow flowers. It's just a weed, but I vividly remembered as soon as I seen them, I knew exactly where he got them. I I was about 4 or 5 when I give those to him. And for 30 years now, those have been the bookmark in his Bible. So, holy smokes, I miss my grandpa. It's something I'd kept swept away and undealt with for 20 years. But I miss my grandpa, So I come to pray through all of this. I come to study the Word about all of this. And I came to realize that since I was 15 years old, I'd been hiding in a beer can or a whiskey bottle. I'd been chasing women to hide something, to hide all these emotions that I didn't even know I had. There's several things I've learned over the last year and a half, and I'll share those with you. I've learned that I don't need an earthly father. I have a heavenly Father that I can go to, and anything I need to learn, I can learn from Him. I probably can't ask Him for $20, but I can learn the important things, how to handle a situation at work, how to handle a situation with a friend. I can go to my heavenly Father, and I can get guidance on how to handle those. There's people in all of our lives that are going to let us down. Your best friend's going to let you down. Your parents are going to let you down. Your wife's going to let you down. Your kids, your friends, everybody's going to let you down. God won't let you down at all. God will not break His promises to you. When it comes to my stepdad, I've learned that it's not always a loss here on earth. I had him for a while. I would hate to know where my life would have been from 5 to 33 if I hadn't had him till I was 13 to mold and shape me to an extent. God said His time was up. There ain't nothing we can do about it. He had to go. But I had him for a while. Again, I learned what it means to be a good husband. I still struggle with this, but it's something I try to pursue on a daily basis. How does Christ love the church? How can I love my wife like that? I learned that I can't do anything on my own. I have to have God at the forefront of every decision I make, at every action I take. I have to have Him in my life for all things that I do. I learned that it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to be soft. It's okay to cry, believe it or not. We're men, but it's okay to cry. I've learned that the world has unrealistic expectations of what a man is. I've learned that there are other men out there that have things pushed away. They try to forget about things. They sweep it under the rug. They do everything that I did. And the men are facing the same challenges as I am. But why is that? Why are we men like that? We get it from society, right? You fall off your bicycle when you're a kid, what happens? Be tough, little boys don't cry. Your first girlfriend breaks up with you. What do they tell you? Hey, just go find you another one. Young men don't cry, get over it. Your biological father disappears. What do they tell you? You don't need him. You're better off without him. Little boys don't cry, get over it. Your stepdad gets killed in a truck wreck. What do they tell you? You're the man of the house now. You got 2 little sisters to raise. You got to be tough for your mom. Suck it up, get over it. Young men don't cry. Your grandpa dies. Hey, you're the only one that can hold this family together now. You got to be tough. You got to be strong. Men don't cry. You lose your lifelong dream of playing football. Hey, you just got to figure something else out to do. So what? It was just football. Get over it. Go on. Young men don't cry. It's incredibly damaging to a man. That society tells us that we are this way. They tell us we can't cry. They tell us we got to be tough. A man's a sissy if he cries. It's all over TV and music. If a man having problems in his life, what's he do? He goes has a one-night stand, or he turns to a whiskey bottle. That's country music for you right there. But it's all wrong. And society tells us we have to live up to their expectations of what a man is. And most of the time, we keep this stuff swept back. We keep it hidden, and eventually it's gonna come out. We're gonna hide it behind something. We're men. Most of us in here has probably had a violent outburst of anger or something at some point in our life. You don't realize that you've got these issues, and even after one of those, you have an outburst. You still don't realize that where it's coming from. But we as men, we have to deal with this stuff. We have to face it. You know, we have to learn to cope with it and talk about it. Proverbs 27:17 in the New King James Version says, "Iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friends." Now, I'm going to tell you guys some stuff, but I'm telling myself this as well, because I don't have it all figured out yet. I'm still struggling on a daily basis. I'm still working on some things. As men, and you touched on this a minute ago, as men, we need to support each other. Okay, sometimes we're the iron being sharpened. Sometimes we're the iron doing the sharpening. We need to surround ourselves with godly men. You know, get yourself a group of men. Be honest with them. Be authentic with them. Be intentional with them, and they'll return that. You know, and having something where you have a small group of men where you can share your hurts and your heartbreaks and things of that nature, I guarantee you, it's going to be amazing, because you will find out that every man in this room has something that they are dealing with or something they have never dealt with, and you know, we need to talk about it as men. Find a mentor and be a mentor. It doesn't matter how green you are. God can still use you to help a man, you know, to be an iron that is sharpening another iron. You know, the world tells us, you know, a man's got to get up, man. He's got to go to work, and he's got to provide for his family. He's got to make house payments. He's got to, you know, he's got to buy his kids the best clothes, and he's got to buy them the new iPads or whatever all the new toys are this year. But you know, all of that is stuff that doesn't matter. You know, there ain't a man in this room, if he got home from work and he found another man trying to have his way with his wife, any and every one of us, we would go fist to fist with that man to protect our wife. You know, if a grizzly bear had one of our kids cornered up, we'd all go jump in between them, knowing that we're fixing to be a grizzly bear snack, but it would save our kids' life. Every man in here would do that. You know, we would willingly fight fights that we know we couldn't win. But some of us got our priorities wrong, because there's a fight out there that you can't lose. You know, so many of us fell in the aspect that we don't fight for our wives. We don't step up, and we're not leaders of our family. We're not leaders to our children. We're not leaders to our wives. You know, everybody in here has the guts to go fist to fist with their wife, you know, to protect their wife, but they don't have the guts. Some of us don't have the guts to step up and pray with our wives and lead our home. We've all got the balls to jump in there and fight a grizzly bear, knowing we're fixing to die, but we don't have the balls to lead our family, you know, and to show our kids what a godly husband is, what a godly father is. So I challenge y'all, and I challenge myself, ask God to reveal and fix the issues you have in your life. I tell you this, it may be smooth sailing, it may be a crazy ride, but at the end of the day, at the end of it, it's all going to be so worth it. I challenge you to find a group of men that you can be sincere with, that you can be authentic with, that you can share your deepest regrets with. And I promise you, those men will hear it, and they will come back. You know, but again, I do want to say this again. Challenge, ask God to fix some things in your life. Whether it's today before you leave, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's whenever you're ready. Ask God to challenge you, to reveal your hurts and your habits and things that you may not even realize you have, and start the process of fixing those. Now, I've got a little video here that it shows an impact of what having one man in your life can do. So if you don't mind playing that video.
As they mature, young males begin to explore the boundaries of the pride's territory. Red has ventured out alone. and blundered straight into the middle of the hyena clan. He's trapped by over 20 of them. The pack tries to wear him down. This number of hyenas could kill him. It's impossible to fight them all at once. He can't keep them at bay for much longer. He's tiring fast. His ally, Tartu, has heard the commotion. Now the odds have changed. Even for 20 hyenas, a pair of male lions is too much to take on. Red is lucky.